good with bad habits. Hey, I'm Chey, and that terrible singing you just heard was still the closest thing to being in harmony you're gonna see throughout this entire video. Ready? Rollin'. I'm full of bad habits. And, you know, when I say bad habits, I don't necessarily mean actual, like, harmful or anything like that. I mean it more in the way that I could easily replace them with good ones or better ones, and yet I attribute it a lot to my neurodivergency, to my ADHD and stuff like that, but a lot of it just is habits. I'm sure there are underlying causes, underlying factors that intricate here and there, and the whole SpongeBob, we're not talking about this or this, we're talking about this. But there are still things that I can do, small changes to make here along the way. Well, as YouTube is typical to do with their challenges, especially vloggers and productivity lifestyle people love to do with their little challenges that are super structured and, you know, not at all welcoming, conducive to spicy brains like me and probably like a lot of you. And that's not their fault, but that just means that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these videos that we may go to for guidance or inspiration end up being counterintuitive because a lot of us may go to them for motivation or inspiration and see their success and be like, oh, hey, I'm gonna try that, I'm gonna do it that way, and then we get disappointed or down further on ourselves when it doesn't work out the way that it did for them in that video. And there's a lot that could be said on that. Like, you don't see what happens behind the camera, you only see what they're showing you, what they're posting for you. And again, that's not to blame them or say that they're trying to sell you a cure-all for any kind of mental struggle or productivity struggle that you may be having. Everyone's struggles and everyone's strategies that work for them are gonna be different. They're gonna look different because we all look different. We all are different. Very good, Chey. Get your words together. Honestly, I'm doing a lot better in this intro than I have in the past intros. Go me, it's probably the camo helping me blend in to seem at least a little bit sane. That being said, there's a challenge that has caught my eye that is kind of fascinating to watch, and hold on, this lighting is bugging me. That's a little bit better. Gonna attract the freaking moths in here, bro, and I love me a moth, but not in my video. Why'd the TV turn on? Go away. Thank you. That being said, there is one of these challenges that has just been living rent-free at the back of my mind that I've just been thinking about and watching a lot of, that I've been fascinated by, and it is the 50-day challenge. If you're not familiar with what the 50-day challenge is, it's essentially just all in the name. For 50 days, people try and implement new habits that they want to work into their lives. And it is kind of a newer take because there used to be some old statistic, or at least I remember mostly hearing around, that it takes 28 days, like a month, to develop a new habit or to work in a new habit. But I think there's like new studies out, according to these videos or something, where, you know, it does take longer. It takes about 100 days-ish, generally. But it also depends and varies on the person, blah, blah, blah. I should make a disclaimer song like that. Subject to change, various to individuals. Ow. Wish that scar would heal up. That's basically the gist, though. For 50 days, you work on these habits that you want to implement into your life. And you might be like, Chey, you sound very self-aware about, you know, the gap between a lot of neurodivergent habits and neurodivergent ways of being able to do things and handle things versus who those videos are more geared towards or who they're more successful for. I still want to do it anyway. Because at the core, the simplicity of it is just practice, practice, practice. And so I was like, I want to do it myself. I want to try it myself. I really want to do a 50-day challenge because one of my yearly goals that I had for my 25 before 25 birthday bucket list, if you will, was to establish a morning routine. I've had morning routines before, but I don't think it was really a routine so much as necessity. I was gonna say, like, back when I was in, you know, K through 12 school, when I'd get up, eat breakfast in the morning, you know, get dressed and go to school, that was more based on actual functionality and, like, needing to do that thing. Now, as an adult, where I don't have a typical 9-to-5 job, I work freelance, and I'm no longer in school, it's just kind of a freaking Mad Max free-for-all on what my mornings are gonna be like, and I know I have a lot of privilege in that way, and I'm very thankful for that, but also it makes chaos in my brain, and so I want to stop it. I know myself, and I know that I am never going to have a set routine that I follow and stick to every single day, but I do have things that I am interested in implementing and working into my life. Habits that I would like to be able to do more days rather than not. And I thought, you know what, since this is an item on my birthday bucket list, and this is a video idea I've been wanting to do anyway, I'm gonna combine the two. So for the next 50 days, I'm gonna be doing the 50-day challenge. Actually, when you're watching this, this is the last day of the 50 days challenge, but this is the intro, so speaking in future tense, editing is fun. For the next 50 days of what you're gonna see, it's gonna be the trials and tribulations and successes and failures of me trying to establish a morning routine throughout my 50 days. And let me tell you, I had to restart. That's how hard I fell off. There were points where I fell off so hard, I was like, restart, redo. Cannot fix that in post, gotta restart. Now, knowing me and knowing my tendency, I don't know whether it's ADHD or what, if it's just me, I have a tendency to overcommit. And when I was first writing down this idea in my idea journal, I had about like 6 or 7 different habits I wanted to do, but honestly, I have whittled them down to just a couple, to the main 3 that I want to try and work in first. Then once I get these down, and if these become an established part of my morning routine, if these become an actual common thing that I am pretty much doing every single day, then I'll start working my way up. I don't want to get too overly ambitious. My brain is like a mule. You have to train it properly first. It has to know which way is left and which way is right, and then you can start working in a team. That analogy probably did not make much sense unless you're from the South, and even then it probably didn't make sense. I'll show you the original list of the habits that I took off. I don't remember them right now off the top of my head, but I do remember one that I crossed off for now is making sure I drink a bottle of water or a glass of water at least once a day. The reason I took that off is because I have to do that in the morning anyway when I take my medication, because one of my medications is dissolved in water and I have to drink an entire glass of water anyway, so I know I need to drink more water, but I do drink water throughout the day, so I took that off for now. I can always work in drink more water later. The main 3 I am going to be focusing on is as soon as I get up, as soon as I get out of bed, making up the bed. I'm terrible about not making up my bed, mainly because I got into the habit of that at my parents' house, where my bed is the main place to sit in my room. There's one chair that's in front of the TV, but I have like a big TV, and so it's kind of, you know, exhausting on the eyes to sit there so close to the TV all the time. So the main place to sit is my bed, also because that's where you get the best cell phone reception. So it's kind of the point of why make up the bed when I'm just gonna get back in it in like 2 minutes and mess it up again anyway. But now that I'm mostly living in my own place, and now that I mostly spend my sitting hours or, you know, my lounging in the actual living room, and I have much more ample space in this room, including a recliner in here, to actually chill out and not just be in my bed all the time, it's more important to get back into that habit. So that is gonna be the first thing. Making up my bed as soon as I get out of it in the morning. Second thing, stretching. I've never been a flexible girl. I am a very strong, very stocky girly. I'm not very lean. I'm not very flexible. I say as I did gymnastics and taekwondo for many years. Gymnastics I only did till I was 5, and then I was like, this is stupid, and I immediately quit and went to taekwondo. So I do have some flexibility, but as I'm getting older, I am 25, shakes fist at sky. It's just, you know, it's healthy, it's good just to get your body up and moving in the morning without being like, oh, I have to commit to an entire workout. It's just good to get the blood flowing and get your limbs all loose and nice. And I've also noticed just throughout my life that the quicker I get moving in the morning, I'm like one of Newton's laws where an object at rest stays at rest, and an object, you know, in motion will stay in motion. So this is a way to help motivate me to get out of bed and get just started on my day sooner and actually get up and start doing things. If I just get up and get the blood flowing and just, you know, do some simple stretches and things like that. And the third is read 10 pages a day. I did this challenge last year. This is actually something that I've been doing since college, but a habit that I'm really trying to implement back into my life, where every morning I read 10 pages in a book. Mainly right now I am focusing on the backlog of my nonfiction books that have been sitting on my shelf for years. So far the challenge is going really well. That's not a spoiler alert. I've been doing this again since August of last year, where I made a video that I'll link up in the cards talking about how it helped me to read a lot more just by 10 pages a day. And I've been continuing it. But the difference is that I want to work it in as the part of my morning routine. If I can just get it out of the way and get my brain working. I get my body moving by stretching, and I get my brain moving by reading 10 pages. So those are the 3 habits we're going to work on. Making up the bed, stretching, reading 10 pages. Then one that's kind of unspoken but implied is just trying reducing my screen time in the morning. I just don't want to be staring at a screen the first thing, getting that rush of digital dopamine, so anyway, let's start you off. Bye! And because, like I said earlier, I have a tendency to jump into things with both feet and really overcommit, I knew that doing 50 days worth of this was not going to be easy, and honestly, even just the thought of it was daunting, even as excited as I was about it. So I decided to do the smart thing, or at least try in my mind to do a smart thing, and do a few trial days, which is what you're seeing here. So for about 3 or 4 days before I started the actual 50-day challenge, I did about 3 or 4 days in a row where I woke up and made sure that I did all 3 of the habits that I wanted to do for the 50 days, just to see how it would go, just to see if I could do it, just to see how it felt, if I even wanted to commit to the full 50 days and actually go through with the challenge or scrap the idea. And it went pretty well, actually, so I continued. So far, this morning has been great. This being on my phone, recording, and me trying to look up some varying morning stretches on my computer are the only instances of me actually, like, intentionally looking at a screen. Unintentionally, like, me checking my battery percentage, seeing if I need to plug up my phone, looking at the time. I'm not really counting that because I'm just literally checking the time. But all things considered, it is now 6:58, I believe. 6:59. It is 6:59. 6:59 currently. 6:59 of the official first day of this challenge, and I gotta say, honestly, I'm pretty proud of my start. So far, I just got done with my stretches. Something I did notice this morning that was different from my practice run mornings was I just didn't feel like doing my stretches as soon as I was out of bed. I don't know, I didn't sleep amazing last night, and so part of me was just like, I want to get my day started, I want to get my breakfast and my coffee, but I intentionally made sure that I wasn't looking at my phone or turning on my TV or anything like that. I came in the kitchen, did my whole little routine of my medicine and vitamins, stuff like that. And something that I have still noticed that will be interesting to see that I noticed during the practice days. So what I was doing during the practice days is I would get up, I would stretch a little bit, and then I would make my bed, and then I would finish my morning stretches there before I even left my room, and then I would come in the kitchen and make my breakfast and stuff. This morning, though, I didn't really feel like doing the stretches yet, so I got up and made my bed, and then I came in here and started the whole routine of my vitamins and all that. I mention that because during those 2 trial days, I noticed that when I was making my breakfast and such, I was moving a little bit slower than I usually do, and it could have just been the way I slept, it could have just been the way I felt. I don't know, I felt like I was moving slower than I usually do, which you wouldn't think might happen after you stretch, but I don't know, maybe my body felt more relaxed? I don't know. This morning, I didn't really feel like I was moving that much slower. I felt like I was moving a little bit, but not that much, so it may just be generally how I'm feeling, but it'll be interesting to see because now that I've taken all my vitamins and stuff, I made my breakfast, I already came in here, and one of my biggest temptations is to watch something while I'm eating, which is why I made that whole rule. So after I did the whole medicine vitamin routine and I made my breakfast and made my coffee, I came in here, had my breakfast, and I made sure I didn't even turn on any screens for my breakfast. I know I can watch something, during eating. The only thing I did was get on my screen to look for morning stretches that I was about to do, so I kind of count that as my screen time for eating. But it's useful. It's for this challenge, so I'm letting it slide this time. That being said, I then closed my laptop as soon as I was done eating my breakfast, and this is gonna be like, oh wow, Chey, could you have said anything more obvious? And one of my biggest issues I have is when I get started on doing something, if I'm eating, I just set my dishes or whatever aside, and then I deal with them hours later, and it's already stressed me out that I didn't deal with them before. I noticed that when I closed my laptop and I finished eating, that I was able to just get up and go in there and wash my dishes. Just no problem, no setting it aside whatsoever, just went in there and did it, and it's done, and now I don't have to think about it, I will when I finish my coffee, but that's a long way off. Washing dishes is not that hard, I don't know why. I think it's just because I get in the zone of wanting to do whatever I'm doing on a screen, and I just don't want to break that to go wash dishes, even though I know it'll be easy and won't take that long. So after I did that, I came in here and did my stretches, and now I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling a little bit sweaty, probably because I'm wearing a hoodie while I did my stretches, but I also did some of my mom's basketball stretches from high school that she showed me. I don't know if I'll be continuing those. I'm semi-athletic. I did taekwondo for many years, I still do taekwondo and stuff like that, but listen, basketball in the rural South 70s, their exercises, their warm-ups hit different, that's all I'm gonna say. Alright, I'm gonna get off the screen. I just wanted to update you on how the morning is going so far. I won't be doing this every morning, it's just since this is the first morning. Now, I'm going to read my 10-page birds! Birds! I think now I'm gonna take the opportunity to get my 10 pages done. I may make a little update on my phone about 10 pages video. We'll see where the day takes us. So far I've done pretty good. Now I'm just chilling in town. I'm about to walk to the record store, but I'm popping in to say hi to a few coworkers, past coworkers maybe. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, we'll see in a minute. I'm trying to see if they're here or if they're not busy. I think that that's their car, but I just texted them being like, hey, if you're not busy, I want to stop in and say hi. So I might do that, and then I'm going to walk to the record store. I could have parked a lot closer to the record store, but it's such a nice day today, and the wind is going to sound terrible in this audio. Yikes. But I figured I'd walk, because it's such a nice day, and it's not too hot. It's great. So I think that the first few days actually went pretty well. I honestly didn't know what to expect the first few days. I knew that I wasn't going to be perfect just because of the way that my brain works. Albeit, though, I was definitely hopeful, and I definitely surprised myself. Well, maybe not surprised myself, because usually with ADHD, at least me personally, I stick to something when I first start doing it, but then when I start getting comfortable with it, or when I meet the first sign of kind of a different adversity than what I started with, that's when I start slipping. Unsurprisingly, that's kind of exactly what happened. I started waking up with different levels of energy, which I should have accounted for, but I didn't. You would think I would know that after 20-something years of dealing with myself, but I didn't. I started differentiating in what I prioritized. Instead of just, like, the first few days or during my trial runs when I would wake up and do everything immediately, when I felt my energy start slipping, I would get out of bed and I'd make my bed first, usually. But then I would say, you know what, I kind of just want my coffee, I'll do stretching afterwards. And of course, we all know how that probably actually went, which is when I made my coffee and such, I would still usually read, but I would be like, stretching, whatever, and I would just get busy and do other things. It wasn't always a conscious decision to not do things, it's just that I put it off somewhat by putting it to the back of my mind. It just got put behind the 87 other things taking precedent in my mind, and it just fell by the wayside, which sucks. And so obviously I tried to tell myself, like, hey, we need to do these first thing, because in a way it was kind of a good experimentation to even see if doing it in a way besides doing it immediately after I wake up was gonna work. And clearly it wasn't, at least not as much as I would have hoped, and I should have accounted for the differentiation, like, in my energy levels in the situations that I was facing with, my mental health and just stuff around the house. Because sometimes I'd wake up and I'm like, oh, I need to go do this before this certain time. I don't have time to stretch and read right now. I'll do those later. I'll get up and make my bed because that's the easiest thing to do when I get out of bed. Now I gotta go do this. I gotta go help my parents, or I gotta go answer this, work email and stuff like that. And so I'm a little bit upset with myself that I didn't account for all that. But you live and you learn. However, the problem came with the more that happened, the more demotivated I got, and the more demotivated that I get, it's more of just why bother then? I've already messed it up once, I might as well just oh well, it's hard to get back on track. It's hard to get back into those prioritizations to start all over again. It's super hard, and it's super frustrating, because in my mind, it's already imprinted of, we're just gonna screw it up again. Yeah, we'll try it again in the future, but also, I've already proven to myself that I can screw it up and not stick to it, and so it's less vigilant in my mind that I am going to succeed, which is really stressful. Nevertheless, partially with the influence of the video and knowing that I need to film it and committing myself to it, I persisted. Also because I really, really wanted to succeed, to see if I could make this happen, because I've been wanting a morning routine for so freaking long. And I was like, we just have to do this. Even if we have to start over a million times, we just have to do this. And so I kept going. Even though I kept stumbling, I was going to say failing, but I think failing's too strong of a word, and I shouldn't have used it to begin with, because that's part of the reason I think my mind was kind of flailing and scrambling for ground to get back on track, is the verbiage I was using with myself. And so it really is just more of I was stumbling, not failing. And of course, I had no way of realizing this at the time, but these little things that, like I just said, kept coming up, these little stumbling blocks, whether it was just lower energy, little things I had to do, these were just a taste test. These were really the test run of what it was going to be like for me to have to overcome and really adapt to when bigger things came up in my life, which, as you'll see, they did happen. Big things happened that really, really diverted me in ways that I could have never expected, could have never seen coming. And so now in hindsight, looking back at these little stumbling blocks, like I said, it's just kind of funny that it really was just a test run for things that were to come in much bigger ways. and really just set the tone. Just set me up without me even realizing it for the expectations that I was really going to have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Which, of course, when you're trying to implement new things in your life, especially habits, you have to be prepared to deal with that. Things are not always going to be perfect. Things are not always going to be silky smooth in life. Things are going to happen. Things are going to occur. And you're going to see how I adapted, improvised, overcome. Okay, overcame, Chey. Get your verbiage right. Okay, how are we feeling? Let's talk about it. Ooh, my good mythical morning. Clearly I'm trying to be. I'm gonna make this update quick because this lighting is terrible and so is my head. I have decided to restart the 50-day challenge, as I've probably already told you in an interlude from the video. Chey, I'm sorry if you have to make that if you forget about it by the time that you're editing this video. So, I restarted yesterday, and yesterday was a bad day to restart it because that is when, the giant storm chain went through and, had some pretty devastating effects on my community in particular, and just kind of upended the whole thing, especially today. And, like, I went from tanning in the sun yesterday afternoon literally 2 hours later being in my basement fearing for my life because there was a tornado passing above my house. Then it touched down 20 minutes later, and yeah. So that kind of upended all that, but I've decided I'm not going to restart it. This is still going to be day 2, and even though I didn't get to really do any of the habits or anything like that, I've still been trying to lessen my screen time and do as much stuff as I can. And I decided not to restart it and just keep this going because, like I discovered with the last attempt, I'm just gonna have failed days, I'm gonna have bad days. The point is just to try and work on the habits as much as possible and incorporate them as much as possible, because especially for someone like me with my ADHD, it's very hard for me to keep in habits in a routine. It's more about just trying to make my brain— yes, microwave, I hear you, I'm cooking dinner right now. It's more about training my brain just to get into the habit of trying to prioritize those things, rather than making sure that I prioritize them every single day at the exact same time. I've just discovered that that's the way it's gonna have to go after these 2 weeks of not really failure, but less than perfect attempts, let's just say that. Not really been going super well because, you know, it's been kind of chaotic. I've learned a lot, and I have decided that that's how I'm going to go forward in this challenge, is prioritizing that. Just prioritizing those things. Trying to prioritize making them a thing every day. Not so much focusing on having to do them every single day. I think that's more fair for myself, more fair for my brain, more fair for the way that I work. That's what we're gonna do. What have I done today? I did my 10 pages. I didn't read it right before I got up or anything because I slept over at my cousin's house because I couldn't stay here because the power was out. Like I said, I've generally worked on my screen time. I haven't really been on my screens or anything like that today, so that's a win. I didn't stretch or do anything like that, but I'm really, really proud of those 10 pages and the screen time thing, so that's a win, and we're just gonna start fresh again tomorrow. But yeah, I just wanted to update y'all on that because reality hits hard. And this just goes to show that life can upend itself and surprises can happen all the time. Really just hammered home the new point, new perspective I'm going to take in this, which is making sure that I'm trying to prioritize those things rather than forcing them. Because the whole ADHD thing is like, we have problems prioritizing. So I think it's more about just focusing on trying to make them priorities in my brain. Anyway, I'm going to go continue making dinner. Just wanted to pop in with that. Okay, bye. It's another day, another beautiful morning, another beautiful, almost summer morning. This morning was kind of disrupted because I'm at my parents' house, and so I wasn't able to stretch. There's, like, no good places to stretch here because the floors are, like, not carpeted right. I'm gonna have to stretch whenever I go to my other house, but we are going down there today to do some housework, which is why I'm here with them, to help them prep to go do that, and just to spend time with my parents, because I don't have to explain my life to you. But what I'm about to do is get my 10 pages in. Actually, I'm gonna get 15 pages in, because 15 more pages, and this sucker's done. It's done. It'll be done, and I'll have to find a new 10-page-a-day book, which I hope to do today. I'm probably gonna pick one of my nonfiction books at my other house. I don't know yet. Otherwise, habits are going pretty well. I still need to do my push-ups today, but I'm gonna wait till I can use my yoga mat down there at the other house and stretch and do all that, because I really don't want to do those until I stretch. But I did make up my bed. I also made up my bed. I am sitting on it, but I did make it up. I'm sitting on a blanket right now. So, that habit's still good. Did all my morning stuff, stayed off my phone. Been going pretty well. We'll check in a few days. Or tonight. Whatever. Done. Absolutely done. Good morning. We're already off to a good start. I know by the looks of me, it doesn't seem that way, but give a girl a break. I just woke up like 10 minutes ago, okay? But so far we're doing pretty well. I already made up my bed and I've gotten to do all of my routine. I'm currently making coffee. I'm gonna make some breakfast. I'm only hopping on my phone to just give y'all a little update that I'm just feeling good today and I don't know why, but it's a good thing. And I woke up adamant that, like, today I'm gonna go cold turkey from the screens. Or at least, like, from the main distraction on the screens that has been distracting me. So, we'll see how it goes. I don't even know what day this is of the challenge, but I've also been rethinking that lately, so I'll let y'all know later. I realize I look sick whenever I don't wear my glasses. I'm not sick. At least I don't feel sick. My face trying to tell me something that I don't know. Like, my nose is very rosy red. You know what I think it is? I think it's my tan. Because I think my eyes... Because I wear my glasses or I wear my sunglasses when I'm outside? Yeah, because look at my forehead. I mean, I would never tell you to do that any other time, but... Maybe that's what it is. Is my nose so... It looks red, though. Sus. I'm definitely gonna storm outside soon, but... We enjoying this. I can't believe how far I am in it already. It's a good thing. I did all my habits. I've been doing a lot better with my habits in the morning as I've been wanting to, which is really, really great. And making a lot of progress on my book. And it helps that the book is easy to read and it's fun to read. Not that my last 10 pages of the day book wasn't. It's very, very doable for 10 pages a day in the morning. Like, it doesn't feel like it's going to take 30 minutes to do it, you know? Like, it actually feels like it's just going to take 10 minutes at most, and then I can move on with my day. And I gained some knowledge and got the brain working. So, it's all been good. It's been good. And also stretching. I've been getting better at stretching. I'm a stocky girl, okay? I'm thick, I'm built like a coffin. It is what it is, you know? Even when I was in school and, like, a bigger gal, but even then, like, when I was really fit, like at 5, 6, 7 years old, and I was doing gymnastics and taekwondo, I have never been able to, like, do the stretch where you sit down on the floor with your legs spread and, like, bend over and, like, touch the floor, you know, like back bend. I've never been able to do that because my rib cage is just not built that way. And so I was in pain in high school whenever my teacher would come, like, try and push me. I'm like, I physically cannot do that. I'm getting better at it now that I'm older and I'm an adult and I know my body better. I'm finding ways to do that exercise in a way that works for me, stretching, and I'm getting better at it, which is making me very happy. And it's only been like a week or so that I've been consistently doing my stretches and stuff, so that feels nice. So a little bit into the challenge around this time, I was starting to hit a stride of sorts. I was definitely starting to get into a rhythm with some of these things. It didn't feel quite as disjointed. I didn't have to think about it as strictly structurally as I had to begin with to make it a very present priority in my brain, but it was definitely still a task to consistently make it come up in my mind of like, hey, we really need to make sure we do this, but it didn't feel like so much of a task as so much of just a want, which I think is important in terms of actually getting to prioritize something, because in order to make my brain, I don't know, I can't speak for anyone else, but in order to really make things work as a priority in my brain, I do have to want them, which is already helped by the fact that I do want to do these habits anyway, but it helped in me already getting into a rhythm, seeing the progress, seeing the success, even though, you know, there were a few bumps in the road here and there. Actually getting into that rhythm, getting into that stride, already going down the road definitely helped. Definitely made it more of a want to keep doing it for the goodness that I was already seeing, rather than just like, hey, we gotta do this, rather than, hey, I wanna do this, I wanna do this. And, well, let's just say I was getting a little bit complacent, and I absolutely should not have been. And watching this footage, you're about to see why, actually, immediately next, because watching this clip right here is very, very bittersweet, because this is the morning that literally everything, just about everything, a lot of things changed in my life. go ahead and carry them. Egg cart. Pretty kitty. Pretty kitty. Hi. What's up? Duct tape can fix everything. Except my car, which I totaled, which is why I haven't made an update recently. So I'm just going to stand out here and give you a quick update because I don't want to talk too much about it because I'm still understandably upset. It is Monday. Thursday I was going home and I was being an idiot. I'll just put it that way because it's the truth. I was being an idiot and I was jamming a little bit too hard to Artificial Suicide by Bad Omens. And I went too fast on gravel, and I found out. Editing Chey coming in here just to clarify some things about what I said, especially in hindsight, because I realized that people can be jerks on the internet, and I just want to clear the air on something. Number one, I actually was not speeding. I talked to the police at the crash site, and she asked me how fast I was going. I told her I was probably, it's a back road that I was pretty comfortable on, and so I told her, I was like, I'm honest, I'm probably going like 5 above the speed limit, but I never speed. I have a paranoia about speed. You know, it turns out for good reason. I actually irritate people because I refuse to speed even above 5 miles an hour that much. But like I said, to clarify some things, I was talking to the police at the crash site, and when she asked me how fast I was going, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna be honest, it's probably like 5 miles over like the posted speed limit. And she was like, sweetheart, I don't think so. And I was like, really? And she was like, yeah. She was like, there's no way you were going 50 miles an hour when you hit that curb. And I was like, okay, well, what do you think I was going? She goes, honey, I don't even think you were hitting 45. So it wasn't the fact that I was speeding was the problem, because she told me, and the cops at the crash site and my parents all told me, especially, like I said, in hindsight, getting over or trying to get over my own guilt, was that it could have happened going 30 miles an hour, because it wasn't just a gravel road. What it was, and if you're in the country, you know exactly what I'm talking about, it is the gravel that they put on the sides of the road. Not necessarily the gravel over top of the entire road, it's the gravels that they put on the edges of the road, which take like months to like years to settle and is super slick. That's what I slid on coming around a curve. Hearing from the cops, like the experts themselves that work crash sites and stuff like that, helped assuage a little bit of my guilt, because the fact that I wasn't speeding even when I thought that I might have been, because I definitely wasn't being freaking baby driver on purpose. That is a joke. That was me making a joke. But I was being, stupid, and I should have, I know that I should have been more cautious going around the curves, but I want everyone to know that, like, it wasn't reckless negligence on my part. At least, I take reckless negligence in driving as intentional. Definitely wasn't intentional. It was what it was, and it was an accident. So hearing that from the experts helped assuage a lot of my guilt, even though not all of it, and hearing, confirm from them and my parents that, like, hey, it could have happened even if I was going 30 miles an hour. That stuff is slick. It is dangerous. It's extremely dangerous. And I've heard from many people since then, like, the same thing has happened to them, albeit not to the extremity that it happened to me. But, like, I've heard of a lot of people who have talked to me, like, oh yeah, I've wound up in ditches over that, or oh yeah, I, like, ran off in the grass because of that stuff. It's so stupid. It's one of the downsides of living in the rural South, in the back roads. But you know what? I'm okay. I'm fine, even though my car is not. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify all that, and I know I'm rambling on about it, but people are jerks on the internet, and I just wanted to clear the air a little bit more. Okay, thanks. Which, I don't feel terribly bad about. What happened was I spun on gravel, went too fast, swerved, and went nosedived into a ditch, and then flipped/rolled 3 to 4 times in a hayfield. I'm totally okay. This is the worst of it. I think I just jammed my hand. I am extremely lucky to have come out like I did. Extremely, and I think my face says it all. done a lot of thinking, a lot of reflection these past few days, as well as a lot of healing and just thinking that I'm an idiot. And of course, I'm not going to go into any more details about the crash because I realize that could be triggering for people, but I wanted to give an update and just tell you the circumstances of what's going on. So that's what happened. Early birthday to me, I get to live, even though I was an idiot and lost my car that I loved, but even though it is totals, doesn't mean that it can't be repaired yet. We're taking another look at it, but that's where I've been. That's why I haven't been making these dopamine updates or for my 50 days challenge, because that has kind of taken precedent, you know? Like, that seems like a big event to have happened to really, you know, take priority, take importance. So I just wanted to let y'all know what's going on with that. I am okay. I'm very lucky to be as okay as I am. I crawled out of the car on my own. I'll just leave it at that. Don't worry, I'm not gonna get any more graphic or anything like that, but this is the worst of it. And a couple of cuts, a lot of bruises. My mom and me are even making jokes about it. People are like, oh, you're so unserious on social media. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I take it very seriously. Like, I know I was an idiot, and I'm like, but of course, like I said, I feel kind of validated because, like, believe me, I've been beating myself up a lot. It's just that too fast for gravel, which, as I've been told, and as I know, even if you're going 30 to 40 miles an hour on gravel, like, you hit it wrong, and you will, especially where the gravel was on the side of the road, you hit it wrong, you're going off. Like, it doesn't matter. And that's true. So that has made me feel a little bit better, but still. I know, and I do take that seriously, but in a way, I'm like, I deal with things with a sense of humor, and the fact that I was able to come out of it like I did, you know, and stuff, like, I take it seriously, but also I'm like, I need to look at it with a sense of humor in order to process what happened and, like, learn from it and grow from it, not just move on. I feel like saying move on gives the wrong impression. I've been making humor out of it, like saying happy early birthday to me, I get to live. But my mom is also trying to join in on it, and she was like, yeah, you know, if Bad Omens ever gets asked if you like their music, they can be like, oh yeah, she flips over it. And I was like, artificial suicide? More like cartificial suicide. Yeah, so that's where I've been. These past few days, that's where I've been. I actually, you know what, I'm not going to post a lot of pictures of the cars on here because I realize that could be triggering to some people, but I will put my Instagram account right here because I did post pictures of it on my Instagram, so if you want to go see pictures of it, like I said, they're not graphic or anything, it's just a torn up car. You can go look on my Instagram, but in case there are people who might be triggered by that here or, like, you know, sensitive to that stuff, I'm not gonna go into any more detail or post those pictures here just for the sake of being kind to others. Obviously, I haven't been able to do much stretching, obviously, because I've been very sore, but honestly, okay, here's a funny thing. Everyone at the crash scene and everyone since has been like the day of, they're like, oh, you're gonna be so much sore tomorrow. Like, it's so good that, like, you came out so well, but, like, you're gonna be so much more sore tomorrow. It's gonna suck tomorrow. Next day, I was sore, but people were asking me, like, how you doing? Like, how you feeling? Get off of me, Ladybug. Ladybug just freaking bit me. Jerk. Ow. Stop it. Better not be another one. They asked me how I was feeling the next day, and I was like, honestly, legitimately honestly, I've been more sore after some metal shows I've been to. I've been more sore the day after a Beartooth show than I was the day after that serious crash. What does that say about how hard I go at metal shows? I don't know, like, I'm not trying to belittle it or trying to, like, make light of it. I'm being serious. I'm being so serious. Like, yeah, my neck's sore a little bit, but, like, I've had days after shows where, like, I can't move my neck from, like, this, and I can barely walk. I was up walking, making my own, well, I can't. So the biggest problem that I have is with my wrist. I don't think it's broken because I can clench a fist even at the site that day and the day after. Like, my main problem has been, like, the tendon right here between my pointer finger and my thumb. You can probably see some of the bruising. I'll post pictures of the bruising because it's not graphic. It's been there, and so I think, like, I just jammed it really badly because I've been able to do this. It's just, like, I can't weight bear. Like, I can't pick up a cup like that, you know, that angle. Like, I have to hold things like this. So, I don't think it's broken, but I'm obviously being careful with it anyway. Ow, that ladybug bite hurts. I'm out here waiting on a couple packages. I've also had, not blisters, but if you ever hauled hay before, you ever baled hay, you know that you get, like, little splinters of hay in your skin that show up days later, like fester, kind of. That's been happening, so that's fun to be reminded of my childhood. Southern problems, am I right? But, you know, it's what happens when you try to be a Duchess of Hazzard into a hate field. So, I think I'm hilarious, by the way. But yeah, I haven't been able to do the stretching like I'd like to, but I have been keeping up on my 10 pages a day. I've just felt really lucky. Obviously, I'm really grateful, and I'm just trying, I am trying to take it easy and just monitor myself. I am testing my limits, but I'm not pushing my limits. That's the difference. So I'm being careful, and I'm being knowledgeable, and I'm just resting while also taking this time to be like, okay, I need to step back and get some work done while my body is like, you know, recovering. At least I have an interesting icebreaker for, whenever I meet bad omens. I love your car so much. I love your car so much. I wish. I love your song so much. I nearly, over it, you know? So, Beartooth, step your game up. That's not even. I shouldn't make a joke about that. So, yeah, I haven't really been able to do my other habits besides just like reading and drinking the bottles of water, and I can't even really make up my bed. I have to do it one-handed, and even then I have, well, it started healing, but another one of my biggest injuries was a cut right here on this part of my hand, so I've been trying not to utilize my hand like this, so I really just haven't been able to use my hands for the first couple days after the crash. Not that much. That's from where I was holding on to the steering wheel the entire time. And this is the last detail I'll go into, unless I talk about it in another separate video, but they could tell that I was holding on to the steering wheel the entire time because even when the car was turned upside down, the wheels were straight. And if I had let go of the steering wheel, like at any point in time when it was flipping, the wheels would have turned, but they were completely straight. So that's why I have such substantial, like, bruising and, like, injuries to my hands, apparently. Hardcore. Hardcore. I thought about extending this a few days, like past the original end date, instead of taking it as a 50-day challenge, like make it something else, I don't know, but like I need to account for these few days that I have lost. And I think I need to do some more introspection and come back with some more thoughts, because this was a spur of the moment thing where I just come out here and I was doing something outside and I just wanted to start talking while it's quiet and private. I think tomorrow I'll probably come back with some more thoughts on things in general and how this is going and plan ahead. And how this series is going to end, like what the end point of this series is going to be, when it's going to be, I should say. Because it needs to go up sometime. Otherwise, I feel like it's been going pretty good so far. I haven't been filming a lot of B-roll, but it's kind of the point. I'm trying not to film as much B-roll because I feel like I pressure myself into filming a lot of B-roll, and it never ends well. It stresses me out to film a bunch, because I'm like, I had to add music over it, and like no one wants to watch all that and just skip through. I don't know if you're like me. I get bored and I skip through a lot of B-roll unless it's kind of short or it's like super interesting. So I think I'm going to kind of do like the Haley Honeyman method, where I just sort of self-reflective talk about it, a retrospective kind of view along with some B-roll. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. By the time this video's up and that you're seeing this, you already know. You're already in the know. You know more than I do already. Or would it be the same amount? Because by the time this, I will have known, because I'm the one that made the decision. Anyway, that's where we're at. That's where we stand. Now, funnily enough, you might have expected that after my accident, things really kind of flew off the rails, a joke not intentional, but in fact, it actually ended up helping a lot more than I thought it would, because I too, like I just said in the previous clip, thought that, it would, stymie isn't the right word, is it? Stagnate, I guess? A lot of those habits, because I was unable to do stretching like I wanted to be doing, I had to find different ways, adapt and overcome. I'm just gonna say it like that. And that did take some more mental effort, but like I said previously, the many stumbling blocks that I came along to begin with at the beginning of this challenge really kind of helped me prepare for that. And overall, I think the accident generally helped the challenge overall, because I had to take my time in doing things. I had to be more intentional about what I was doing with my morning, and more intentional about what I was doing with my habits, and actually think, instead of just being able to get up and immediately start doing the 10 other things that were trying to take precedent in my mind, trying to take precedent in my day and what I wanted to do. I actually had time to be like, oh, Instead, I'm gonna focus on doing these things like I've been wanting to do, because I can't, there's only so much that I can do right now. I'm limited in what I can do in general versus how I am normally. So you know what, I'm gonna do these things that I want to focus on anyway, and I'm gonna do them to the best of my ability, even if I have to improvise with them a little bit. And I think that gave me enough time to work it into my schedule to show me that I can adapt, that I can improvise in ways that still work, even if not up to the standards, or even definitely not up to the perfectionism level that I wanted it to be, or the conditions that I wanted it to be, that I was still doing it and able to get it done. I think overall that helped probably more than anything. I think that probably helped more than just doing it over and over and over again. I mean, obviously repetition helps, but I think having to improvise in that way, having to actually force myself to slow down and be more intentional about it, because I was not going to do it myself. Let's just be honest, that's not how my brain works. Unfortunately, it had to happen this way, but at least this was a positive outcome of it. I was even noticing it during my recovery, during the first days and like week after my recovery. And of course, I was kind of worried about, okay, well, once I am back to full capacity, am I going to start slipping up again? But in comparison to before, I had a little bit more faith in myself, in my ability to continue doing it, even if the ways that I was doing it or accomplishing these things wasn't up to my ideal standard. Hi, Walking Chey here, 50-day challenge. Don't ask where I am. It's not important. Don't look in your backyard, though. So, 50-day challenge is actually going pretty well. I'll talk more in depth about it later, but I might be extending it a week, considering the circumstances of my accident kind of messed me up for a bit, you know? Kind of messed up, or like slowed the progress, I should say. Kind of humdingered the process, I feel like. Stymied, if you will. Humidity does make my hair look decently okay. Why are you the way that you are? I don't know though. Besides that, I feel like it's going pretty darn well. It's not going the way that I expected it to, but I am proud of the progress nonetheless. And I just wanted to say that. I wanted to be proud of Chey while I'm walking this way. The Run DMC version is the superior version. Do not at me. Alright, so now that we're getting to the end here, we are in the final stretch. We are in the final week. And it is kind of wild looking back on this, because I'm just recording this as I'm going through the video, as I'm editing it. This is not scripted. I don't know if you're new here, but if you ain't, then you know that I hardly ever script these things unless it's just a super long video like my Beartooth video, and even then, most of that was off the cuff. So, we do what we do, we are who we are here. I'm not going to talk too much about my whole overall retrospective of this challenge, because you're about to see that in the summary coming up, but I will talk about this last week. This last week, I don't know, man, something about it just felt good. You know what I mean? It wasn't that I had fully gotten into the habits. I still tripped up here and there. Sometimes I didn't read till later in the day. Sometimes, you know, I stretched at different hours of the day. I wasn't perfect, but I pretty much hit the nail on the head every single day the last week. And something else that I noticed, I mean, I had been noticing it the longer the challenge went on, but I think it really just kind of hit home for me in the last week whenever I was creeping up on the end with the finish line in sight. And that is that, surprisingly, I was really, really enjoying this. It wasn't just that I was like, oh yes, I'm conquering this challenge, I'm being successful, I'm gonna do what I set out to do, and I finally got a morning routine. Yeah, that's all fine and good, that's all fine and dandy. But I think part of what was really hitting the right centers in my brain of being like, I'm really enjoying this, I'm really having a good time doing all these things, such as making my bed, reading my 10 pages in my specific 10 pages book, and stretching, I think really what hit the centers in my brain for enjoying that is the fact that I was seeing progress in all these things. So something I came across whenever I started going to therapy a couple years ago, I mean, I've been out of therapy for a while, but when I started doing therapy at Georgetown during the Backstreet Boys tour of 2020, was in talking to my therapist and talking about what I wanted for the future and stuff, I realized about myself that in order for me to feel attached to something, in order for me to feel motivated, I need to see tangible progress. Like, that was the reason I was driving myself crazy in hating doing my thesis, was because I would read a 300-page book, and then at the end of it, it's like, oh, I actually can't use that at all in my thesis, so I wasted my time. There's no tangible progress, right? And that's also why I love manual labor in comparison to that kind of mental labor that is academic. Point being that I need and love to see tangible progress in what I do and what I work on. And that was the kicker with how long this challenge was going on. I was seeing tangible progress in, number one, completing the books. I had done almost 2 books, I think, and I started a 3rd by the time that this challenge was over. I finished one of my biggest books, I finished another big one, and I started a 3rd. That's a lot of tangible progress to see. And with my stretching, like I said in earlier clips, I was definitely making progress in my stretching. It may not look it in some of these clips, I understand, but also I did flip 4 times in a car, so give me a break. I was working myself back into it, and also I just haven't really stretched throughout my life consistently, except for when I was doing taekwondo and gym and all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you can see the tangible progress, because I can, and that's what was personally pushing me on, being like, hell yeah, brother, let's go! And obviously, tangible progress of making up the bed is clear and coherent. You can literally see it. We're looking at it right now. But something else about it, it just made me feel good to look at it every morning, being like, oh, it's so nice and neat and clean. So while that's all cool, and while it's great to have those physical results that I can actually see and show me that I'm not only doing a good job and that I'm being successful, but that I am continuing to do so, continuing to work on things that are important to me, and they're continuously improving my life in some aspect, whether it's just mental or whether it's actually doing so, like health with the stretching. That's definitely one of the biggest successes in and of itself in this challenge, was coming to that final result of something like that, because that is not something that's just a temporary success. That is not something that's just a temporary win. That is the kind of motivation that inspires and motivates someone like me to continue doing said challenges, to continue doing said actions and said habits. Guess who's back? And knocked my camera to the side whenever I just finished the intro to this. You're back! Welcome back! How was your journey? Chaotic? Yeah, it was chaotic to live it, too. Can you imagine? Couldn't be me. Is it getting dark outside already? Where's my horse? I was gonna call out to him, but he can't freaking hear me from here. I didn't make much check-ins throughout this vlog, here and there. I honestly didn't know how I was gonna be filming this whenever I did. I was just filming B-roll and I was stressing out about not having enough B-roll, and then I realized, Chey, you're just gonna have a summary at the end. Calm TF down, girl. But here we are at the end of 50 days. Today is June 26th. And literally, when I woke up and started doing my habits this morning, I was like, today's the last day. Today's the last day. 062696, I'm a Cancer! Happy birthday, Mr. Alpha Wolf. 50 days, finally done. After several missed starts and several restarts, we are finally here. We finally made it. The curse is lifted. So some overall reflections. Poor Chey will probably have done voiceovers for you throughout this video, especially in B-roll, just to give you my thoughts on it, to make this outro life Chey's life easier. Do I think it was a success? Yes, overall. Not as much as a success as I want it to be, but a success nonetheless. Was this challenge successful? Have I successfully established my morning routine? By my standards, I'm gonna say yes. I never expected, like I said at the beginning of this video, I never expected to be doing these things every single morning. The point is just to do them more mornings than not. I understand that life circumstances happen. Believe me, I know that life circumstances happen. I know things come up here and there, and some days, some mornings we have low energy, some mornings we just have to get up and go, some mornings that, you know, we're sick and can't do anything. Stuff's gonna happen. I get it. And so I don't fully expect myself to do this every single morning, especially with how many spoons I may wake up with that morning to be able to do stuff with. But this was more just to get me to do it more often than not. Get me into the habit of prioritizing to do these things, to focus on these things in the morning by starting off simple and then hopefully working more later on in life. And I think I've done that. I have pretty much done a lot better at actually getting up in the morning and doing these things. If not doing all 3, at least doing 2 out of the 3. What is the one I think I'm most successful on? The one that I think has been the most successful is making my bed, and I think it's because it's so accessible to me when I actually get out of bed to just turn around and do it. Which is a good thing. You know what? That's starting off strong, and I'm glad for that. There were a lot of days where I missed here or there in, not reading 10 pages a day or not stretching, but I pretty much did making my bed almost every single day. Even like when I had the failed attempts and missed starts and stuff, I was really, really good about making my bed. Which sounds so sad as an adult to say that that's a victory, but when you're just so used to not caring about it for years, and then you have a brain that as soon as you wake up notices like 47 different things and has 87 different tabs running open at the same time, turning around and making sure it's the first thing you do is a win. Small victories, baby. As for stretching and reading, I honestly think that those are about the same in terms of their success. A lot of things came up, especially when I had my car accident, where I couldn't stretch for days at a time because of obvious reasons. But I have been pretty consistent about it, and I've actually been looking forward to it, and even better, I've been getting better at stretching. I can bend farther forward in like a forward bend. I need to find out what the technical name of that is, but it's where you're kind of doing toe touches, where you sit with your legs like spread eagle and you lean forward trying to like touch your stomach to the floor with your arms stretched out like that. Yeah, that thing that I've said that I'm terrible at, I've gotten better at it. I can't touch the floor fully yet, obviously, because my body just does not bend that way, and my rib cage is just... I don't want to talk about her. I'm better at it now, so maybe one day I'll be able to get almost to the floor. Holding out hope. We'll see. But I've been looking forward to actually stretching in the morning, getting up and making my bed and just stretching, getting on the floor and actually doing side bends and toe touches and stretching out my arms. It just feels good, man. It feels good to get the blood flowing. I'm proud of myself for doing that. Not only does it feel good emotionally, it actually feels good physically too, which I know it would, but actually doing it and experiencing it just adds to the reward. The reading 10 pages a day fell off hard in April and in parts of May just because of time commitments and things that came up, like I said, especially with my accident and stuff like that. NANI? Can I help you? I swear. This has happened 3 times now in a video. You just want to be on. If you want to be turned on, you don't have to do it yourself. I guess maybe you do. 10 pages a day, that's where I was at, right? Yeah, I've gotten a lot better at it. There were times where I fell off hard. And I say that I fell off when I had my accident, but I think I actually didn't. I think that I was able to stay in bed longer because of obviousness and actually read those 10 pages. Anyway, I've definitely been more consistent about that despite, some mess ups and pitfalls here and there. I was gonna say failures, but it's not failure. It's not failure if you're trying. It's just a little pitfall. It's just a little stumbling. And overall, I've been doing a lot better. Been pretty much on the ball with doing 10 pages a day, especially in the latter half of this challenge. And that leads me into my next point. What was easier, the beginning or the end of this challenge? I think the beginning and the end. The middle, I think, is kind of where I fell into complacency, and it's kind of like, well, I've been doing good, so if I mess up here or there, it's fine, because I've already started off to a good start, and I'll just pick it right back up. That's a trap. That's a trap. Don't listen to yourself whenever you start talking about it's a trap. Fool. It's a trap. Don't get complacent with stuff like that. Yes, you're allowed to have pitfalls, and yes, you stumble, and yes, it's part of being human. Don't hold it against yourself, but try, just make sure that you keep trying if it's something that you actually want to do and it's still bringing you joy. Obviously, if it's not, then stop. And that's kind of a perk to this, is that if you have this idea about something that you want to do and then you try and implement it as a habit and it's just not working and not working and not working, that may be a sign that, like, hey, that ain't for you. Or at least maybe it's not for you in the way that you originally intended it to be or originally planned for it to be. Maybe you need to go at it at a different angle. Or maybe you'll discover, God, I actually hate doing this thing. Or I'm just not that kind of person. And that's fine. You learn something about yourself. I can barely do this because of the scar on my hand. Yikes. So I think the beginning was pretty easy because it was able to give me something different for dopamine. I was like, yes, I'm doing this thing. I'm having success. And then in the middle, it was like, okay, well, I've pitfalled here and there, so it's fine. I'll pick it back up. It's fine.
It was not fine.
And then at the end, when I got back into it, I don't know, like, in these past few weeks, I have probably been better than ever about it. And I don't know why, it just feels like something clicked, or maybe I'm just getting more enjoyment about it. And I've come to peace with that I think it's gonna come and go in waves. Do not start singing the Bad Omen song. Don't do it. I'm talking to me, I'm not talking to you, but if you almost did it, I'm talking to you too. Don't do it. I cannot speak without speaking in lyrics like every few sentences, even unintentionally. I think it is gonna come and go in phases. You're not gonna get me. You're not gonna get me. Not again. Not again! I fully believe that there's gonna be points, maybe even weeks, where I don't do these things, where I fall short on these habits, where maybe I don't do one, or maybe I don't do two, or maybe I don't do any of them. And maybe nothing really is going on in my life, like I don't have any, I was gonna say extracurricular. That is not the word. Any extra things withstanding that prevent me from doing this, like my car accident per se, or just life events, sometimes I'm just not gonna feel up to it. Sometimes it's just not gonna happen. Maybe for days, maybe for weeks, maybe for months. But I think what has shifted in my brain is the prioritization of it, which is something that me in particular, I know, and a lot of ADHD folks struggle with, is prioritizing and shifting of priorities. And I think in the last few weeks of this challenge, it really kind of cemented or more firmly embedded as priorities in my brain as something that I wasn't only prioritizing, but something I was looking forward to, not just like a chore, not just like a checklist to get done. And it wasn't just the success of actually doing those things that propelled me. For me, it was finding little reasons of little victories along the way, I think, that help prioritize those. Making the bed, I can't really think of any, except just for the satisfaction of being like, ha, I did it, fool. You actually did it! Yes! But reading the 10 pages a day, it gives me the physical satisfaction of being like, hey, look, I've almost finished this 40-page, or like this 400-page book in like a couple weeks. Just by reading 10 pages a day. Little victories like that keep spurring me on to be like, hey, results. It wins. You know? Cool. This habit good. Habit good. Prioritize. Good. And with stretching, like I said, I'm getting better at doing something that I was terrible at for years. Little wins like that. And I know it's not always going to be that way, just like I know I'm not always going to be on the ball about it, and that's fine. I've made peace with that. I am the monster under my own bed. The call is coming from inside the house. I get it. And that definitely helps, being able to just look ahead and be like, I know I'm gonna f*** up. I know, and that's okay. I think that helps tremendously. Because then along the way, when you do, you don't hurricane yourself down into a spiral. And that's another important point, is not doing that, or trying to prioritize, not doing that. Because you are gonna mess up. You are! Even those people who are like the perfect 50-day challenge, structure, and they have like 10 different things that are going to workout classes and stuff like that, I guarantee you, there is not a person alive who has done that challenge or does habits like that who has not messed up, who has never missed a day, or who has never, missed a week of doing stuff like that. I guarantee you there's not a person alive. We're all gonna mess up. We're human. Humans are fucked. Okay? And guess what? That's fine. It's fine. I promise, it's fine. No one is gonna come in and be like, bad. We're not gonna tie you to the stocks in the public square and throw tomatoes at you. It's fine.
ADHD activated.
I honestly wonder if I could pick up a stockade. That is not what this video is about. My takeaways from this is that it's a worthy challenge to do, but be aware of your limits, be aware of things that you really want to do. And my advice would be to look for small wins along the way, like I was just talking about, of like, hey, look at this book I'm almost finished that I've been reading on for years or wanting to read for years. Or I can do a back bend farther than I have in years. But also be aware and listen to yourself. If something isn't working, maybe it's not for you, or it's not for you in that way, look at a different angle. Don't be afraid to mess up and start again. That's like anything in life. You're not failing if you're trying. You only fail if you fail to start in the first place. So I'd say it's a worthy challenge. For me, I feel like it's been successful for me to work in smaller habits, and I will probably use a version of this method to practice makes almost perfect, practice makes nearer perfect of other habits that I want to implement. Time will only tell. Time will only tell. You can tell I got too deep into my thoughts and wasn't thinking before I talked because the southern accent came out. My lip curls again! My friend used to tell me that it looks like I'm smoking cigarettes all the time when I talk, because my full accent, I actually talk like this when I draw my lip up. I'm single! Alright, yeah, that's it. We're gonna go. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with these habits that I made. have you tried anything like this? Have you found something similar like this that works for you? If you are going to try something like this, what are some habits that you think you could implement and actually be successful with in a 50-day challenge if you tried it? Going for the MySpace emo hair look. Let me know in the comments below. Not about my emo hair, about what habits you think will be successful in your own 50-day challenge version of this. You got that, right? I'm sure you got that. I don't need to explain everything to you. If you made it to the end of this video, thank you for going through whatever you went through to get here, to be here with me. If you like chaos like this, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss a minute of any future chaos or ramblings or rantings or just general buffoonery. I have a bunch of other lifestyle videos, a bunch of vlogs, a bunch of challenges, book videos, music videos, all that crazy stuff on my channel. Check it out if you're interested. I just got an email from my old college professor that I need to go check, so thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you ain't heard from anyone else today, I love you. Love and peace. Bye! This was crap, bro. That was the most ridiculous rushed outro I've ever made in my life!